1.
Catherine the Great by Stormy Peterson. Catherine started out as a minor German princess. She grew up in a small principality called Abholzepf. Her father, Christian August, was a prince of this tiny domain, but he gained more fame for his military career. Her mother had relatives in other royal courts in the region and brought Catherine with her on visits to seek out possible suitors. Catherine, on the other hand, saw marriage as a way to escape from her controlling mother. Educated by tutors, Catherine had religious studies with the military chaplain. She also learned 3 languages: German, French, and Russian. The Russian came in handy when Catherine's mother wrangled an invitation to St. Petersburg from the Empress Elizabeth. Elizabeth had once been engaged to John's older brother, who died of smallpox. She wanted to see if Catherine would be suitable for her heir, Grand Duke Peter. As a teenager, Catherine traveled with her mother to Russia. The pair became engaged, and Catherine converted the Russian Orthodox faith despite her deeply Lutheran father's objections. On August 21st, 1745, Catherine married into the Russian royal family, becoming a Grand Duchess. She and Peter proved to be anything but a happy couple, however. Peter was immature and juvenile, preferring to play with toy soldiers and mistresses than to be with his wife. Catherine, however, developed her own pastimes, which included reading extensively. After years of not having children, she finally produced a heir, a son by the name of Paul. Catherine had little time with her firstborn son. Elizabeth took over raising the child soon after his birth. After Elizabeth's death on December 25th, 1761, Catherine's husband assumed the throne, becoming Peter III, while she received the title Empress Consort. The pair were leading separate lives at this point, and she had little to do with his rule. Peter was openly cruel to his wife and discussed pushing her aside to allow his mistress to rule with him. After 6 months, Peter was overthrown in a coup directed by Catherine. Catherine had conspired with her lover, Gregory Orlov, a Russian lieutenant, along with several others in order to unseat Peter. She was able to get him to step down from power and assume control herself. After Peter's resignation, he was strangled while in the care of her co-conspirators at one of Peter's estates. The exact role Catherine played in her husband's death is unclear. Concerned about being toppled by opposing forces herself, Catherine sought to appease the military and the church. She recalled troops that had been sent by Peter to fight Denmark, and promoted and gifted those who had backed her as new empress. Early in her reign, she returned the church's land and property. Catherine even styled herself the beloved ruler Peter the Great, claiming that she was following in his footsteps. Catherine had a sculpture made later known as the Bronze Horseman, built to honor him. While Catherine believed in absolute rule, she did make some efforts towards social and political reforms. She put together a document known as the Acts on how the country's legal system should run, with a push for capital punishment and torture to be outlawed, and calling for every man to be declared equal. Catherine had also sought to address the dire situation of country serfs, workers who were owned by landowners for life. The Senate protested any suggestion of change to the feudal system. After finalizing the acts, Catherine brought delegates together from different social and economic classes to form the Legislative Commission, which met for the first time in 1767. Ultimately, the Acts became more known for its ideas rather than its immediate influence. Later in her rule with the Charter of Nobility in 1785, Catherine made an about-face on policy and greatly augmented upper-class power, with a large amount of citizens forced into the oppressive conditions of serfdom. A religious skeptic, Catherine sought to contain the power of the Orthodox Church. She had given them their land and property back initially, but soon changed her mind. The wealth of the church should belong to the state, Catherine thought. To that end, she made the church part of the state, and all of its holdings, including more than 1 million serfs, became state property and subject to tax. During Catherine's reign, Russia expanded its borders. She made substantial gains in Poland, where she had earlier installed her former lover, Polish Count Stanislaw Poniatowski on the country's throne. Enjoying numerous victories in 1769 and 1770, Catherine showed the world that Russia was a mighty power. She reached a peace treaty with the Ottoman Empire in 1774, which brought new lands into the empire and gave Russia a foothold in the Black Sea. One of the war's heroes, Gregory Pumpkin, became a trusted advisor and lover of Catherine's. Pumpkin proved to be a great supporter of Catherine and an accomplished statesman in his own right. Ruling over newly gained territories in southern Russia in her name, he started new towns and cities and built up the country's navy there. Pumpkin also encouraged Catherine to take over the Crimea Peninsula in 1783, shoring up Russia's position in the Black Sea. A few years later, Catherine once again clashed with the Ottoman Empire. The two countries battled each other from 1787 to 1792. Catherine had a boarding school established for girls with noble families in St. Petersburg and later called for free schools to be created in towns across Russia. Catherine was devoted to the arts and sponsored many cultural projects. In St. Petersburg, she had a theater built for opera and ballet performances, and even wrote a few librettos herself. She became a famous art collector, and many of these were displayed in the Hermitage, a royal residence in St. Petersburg. An avid reader, Catherine was especially fond of the philosophers and writers of the Enlightenment. She exchanged letters with the French writer Voltaire and writer Denis Diderot came to Russia to visit with her. In fact, Diderot was the one who gave Catherine her nickname, Catherine the Great. With literary aspirations of her own, Catherine also wrote about her life in a collection of memoirs. Catherine is often better remembered for her romantic liaisons than her many accomplishments. Still, Catherine made some significant contributions to Russia, bringing forth educational reforms and championing the arts. As leader, Catherine also extended the country's borders through military might and diplomatic powers. She was known as the Enlightened Monarch because she used enlightened ideas to rule but was an absolute monarch. She established the Free Economic Society in order to modernize agriculture and industry. She also centralized Russia's power and forced naval armies, encouraged and educated the serfs, nobles, middle-class men, and developed Russia worldwide. I'd listen to it.